Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm here to wrap up my coverage of You Like It Darker by Stephen King. And I'm finally going to be going back to where I should be. This story is the most recent, at least as far as being at the very end of the book of You Like It Darker, of a bunch of stories that are first appearing in You Like It Darker. And so it sits at number 258 in my bibliography. If that's wrong, if this story has appeared somewhere else before, please let me know. Um, I have heard that a lot of these stories have appeared elsewhere, but unfortunately, there's only a couple of them that I've been able to find information about where they appeared. And so, to the best of my knowledge, this is really the first appearance of most of the stories in this book. There was one story after I posted the video, somebody did point out it was published in a magazine previously, so I've revised for that. But it doesn't change where this one sits at this time. It sits at the very end of King's bibliography, number 258. And the story is called The Answer Man. In The Answer Man, you have a man. This is set back starting in the 1920s. And this man, he graduated from Harvard, and he's expected to go into his father's law firm. But he doesn't really want to do that. He wants to open his own law firm in a small town called Curry in New Hampshire. And he's got a girl he wants to marry. But he's a little uncertain about whether or not he should go forward with that plan, because his father, of course, doesn't like it. His father wants him to come work at his law firm in Boston. And the girl that he wants to marry is the daughter of one of the partners at this law firm, so he wants him to join the law firm in Boston also. So he's got to go against both families and follow his own path if he's going to do this. And he's just not sure if it's going to work out. He's not sure if his girl will want to go with him. He's not sure. He's not sure if he can get the two families to be okay with it. And while he's driving up by Curry, driving down a highway, and he sees on the side of the road a guy with a red umbrella, an older gentleman, and a sign saying answers. $25 for 5 minutes and 2 free questions. So he stops and he eventually gets around to asking about his future. He pays for the 5 minutes and asks questions about his future. And one of his questions to the answer man was, well, how do I know that you're for real? How do I know that your answers are true? And the answer man just says, well, only time can confirm that. Because these are all, the answers he's giving him are all things that are going to happen in his future. And you can't really confirm that it's true until it actually happens. So, okay, he goes on his way and he lives his life. And yes, the first things that he had asked about, when he gets to that time, they do come true. And that's how it goes for the story, is that things keep coming true. And so he keeps want more answers. And so he looks for the answer man and he finds him. And he gets some more answers. The answer man, it seems, doesn't really exist. He never ages. He never changes. And he can't be found until the main character needs him. This story reminded me of a Twilight Zone episode of this guy that had this box of what looked like complete junk, but he was selling items in the box to people, but he was only selling them what they need. He would not sell them anything else. He would only sell them what they need. And he somehow knew what they were going to need. and it would come true. An event would occur where that item suddenly has relevance and use and gets the person out of a bad situation. Okay, so different but similar, you know what I mean? The story is very Twilight Zone-esque. That's kind of what hinders it is too much like a standard Twilight Zone episode and not enough of what we know and love Stephen King for. But it is an excellent story. It's just, if you're looking for tense, horrifying situation, you're not going to get it here. It's a nice story. Overall, it's about life. It's about the future. It's about our expectations. And it's about answering questions which we can't answer. And oftentimes it's because oftentimes we aren't asking the right questions. A lot of times we ask questions that we already know the answer to, when the real questions we should be asking are ones which we don't have answers to. It's an interesting story and kind of a nice fade to black on the whole collection. You Like It Darker, but don't go into it expecting typical Stephen King, because it's not. It's a little different. It's Stephen King in that a lot of Stephen King short stories have a Twilight Zone feel, but it's not Stephen King in that the majority of what I've read by King so far gets pretty intense. And this lacks that. I'll leave it at that and leave off with this collection. Next, with my Stephen King exploration, I'm going back to where I was in the early days of Stephen King. A story which comes from Night Shift, titled Battleground. I hope you'll join me for that and all the rest of the Stephen King reviews I have coming up, and all the other authors that we cover here on Telltale Books. Until then, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button.